Good evening, Internet, and welcome to Kent at Your Own Risk, episode 61, where Kent, Kevin, and Chris are going to be doing our new old thing for the summer and going back to the world of Westeros, where we are going to be talking about House of the Dragon Season 2, and we are starting tonight with Season 2, Episode 1. I believe it's called Blood and Cheese. Blood and Cheese. Alright guys, just before we get in, how have you been over the last month?
Wait, why do people keep saying blood and cheese? It's called A Son for a Son.
That's what I thought.
It's because it was called Blood and Cheese in the book.
Okay, because my therapist kept saying that. I'm like, no, it was called A Son for a Son. And that's what my therapy is about, by the way.
I just had an oh shit moment. Like, oh man, I'm really going to... I didn't even know the name of the episode. Son for a Son.
Anyways, I've been pretty good since the last time we got together. I've had a couple weeks in a row where I've had extra training at work, so it's been throwing off my schedules. Normally I just stay up at nights to be consistent, and not screw with my circadian rhythms, but I've had to get up like at least once a day for the last 3 weeks in a row to get up and come in at like 8 a.m. instead of leaving work at 8 a.m., so that's been rough. Outside of that, though, it's been pretty good couple weeks for TV, movies, and video games, so I will throw it over to you guys.
I've been good. It's been pretty hot here in New Hampshire, and we had a thunderstorm today. It stopped. I was a little worried about that with my internet, but yeah, I'm excited to get into this with you guys. So thank you for having me this season.
Yeah, this fucking heat can eat a fat dick. That's really what I have to offer. I'm sick of sweating. I'm sick of most of the time I like taking a nice early morning or late night shower when it's cooler, but there's no such thing right now. And even with the air conditioner going, it's just, yeah. So I've relied on the most minimalistic cooking as possible. Today was just straight up pizza. And I've been trying to learn how to use a convection oven, and I've baked cookies. That went well. I tried to make fries. That didn't go well. So it's a learning experience. That's what I have.
Cheers to new things, Kent. Proud of you.
Thank you. This is part of my journey, is to try out new things. And you know what? I bought a couple of Kindle books with some recipes to use for this specific appliance. So, who knows? I may find a couple things that I like, and yeah, I'm all for it. Also, by the way, really good timing, Elden Ring, on doing your DLC this particular week. Thank you so much, because what I really wanted to do was have to worry about a video game the week that House of the Dragon started. Thank you so much.
I was so pissed off. We had the training this week. They didn't tell us until our last week on what day it was going to be. So I was like, oh, I got a 1 in 25% chance that it'll be the one night that I have, the podcast. Of course, what's the night they picked? The night we were originally going to do the podcast. I'm like, you fuckers. So I apologize for having to redirect it today. Although that does give me the chance now to say, rip Donald Sutherland. Wow, I was not dude was old, but I wasn't expecting to read that today, that he passed away.
Yes, rest in peace, Donald Sutherland. You guys have a favorite Donald Sutherland movie?
I think my favorite Donald Sutherland movie is something that it's super hard to fucking get now, but it was one that came out, I want to say in the late 90s, with him, Ben Kingsley, and Aidan Quinn, called The Assignment. It was about the hunt for Carlos the Jackal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Mine's boring. It's Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
But so
that sounds
good.
really good.
Mine is A Time to Kill. It wasn't a huge role by any means, but I absolutely adore that movie. And to me, he will always be the Donald. Just saying, I don't know. To me, I don't know. I love that guy's acting. I wish he was in more horror, though, to be honest, because he was cool in it.
He was definitely in some different ones. What was the one that he did with Julie Christie?
Don't Look Now.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah, I want to be cool and say that was my favorite movie, but I've only seen it once, and it's great.
Yeah, it's. I definitely like out of the three of us, that's a Kevin movie.
Yeah, I mean that ending is so like. I mean, I really was. It's one of those movies where I didn't understand it, but I still thought it was really cool.
Like I was thinking today, I'm like, I could have seen Donald Sutherland being like a perfect character in like Game of Thrones or House of the Dragon too. So it's too bad that we'll never get that now. But anyways, are you guys ready to dive into this?
Sure am.
Yes.
All right. So if I miss something or forget something, please feel free to interject and make sure that we're not missing anything. But so we open up, and it's been almost 2 years real time since the last episode, season 1 ended.
Yeah, because Luke has aged. Like most of everybody else, you don't see too much, but you see it with him.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be relatively recent in the show because like Rhaenyra's still looking for Jacaerys' or no.
Did I fuck that up?
Yeah, I think you fucked it up.
Awesome.
So Jacaerys is older, and Rhaenyra's still looking for Lucerys' body, but Jace, like his hair is longer. He looks like he's like 6 inches taller. He looks like my son, in the same. Not that my son looks like him, but like he has grown the same amount that my son did within that same period of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No, it's weird that. I mean, at this point, you wouldn't really see it much like in Aegon and Aemon, but Jace is like the one you see it by far the most in. Oh, I also, well, no, that was really the only one that I really noticed a lot, I guess. Aged itself, that's all.
So we open, and if I'm correct, he's talking to Cregan Stark up on the wall. And it appears that the Starks are just basically always been fucking decent people. So Cregan is talking to him as Jacaerys is trying to secure their support for Rhaenyra, and he's like, listen, dude, paraphrasing here, but yeah, I'm all up about your mom. We honor our oaths, but I'm the only person who gives a shit about anything that's going on up here, so I can't give you my whole army. But he's like, I'll give you all my old people. They're all veterans, they know what they're doing, but yeah, they're a little bit old. And Jacaerys like, how many? And he's like, I say you like 2,000 people. As well as, so we get to see the wall. We get to see a look over the wall. It was kind of cool, since we haven't seen it since season 1 of Game of Thrones, to see Ned's sword that got melted down for Joffrey to make his with on Cregan's back.
Here's one thing I like is that George R.R. Martin clearly just didn't give a fuck, because we're in this fantasy world and everybody's got fucking British accents or whatever, but we're still using imperial measurement because the wall is 700 feet tall.
Well, I mean, if you're going to be doing like Middle Ages, stuff, the metric system didn't pop out until what, like way later, 1800s?
It's a fantasy realm that's set like within a weird time period. It's tough.
Just be glad we're not getting leagues and furlongs.
I demand more furlongs in my House of the Dragon moving forward.
I mean, we can definitely petition for the furlong to be the standard unit of measurement.
That's right.
So yeah, I mean, they bring it up again, and this is one of the things that I don't think they really emphasize enough. But like, because I can't tell you how many people I hear say "sweet summer child" now, referring to things. But yeah, like if you didn't get it, if you don't understand it, like, the seasons in Westeros last years at a minimum, and sometimes decades at a time. So, winter is coming. It's not like, oh, yeah, it's going to be 3 months and then it's going to be over. I mean, like, winter could take, like 10, 12, 13 years in a row, with snow, no sun, no crops, all of that shit. So, I mean, that's one of the reasons why the High Garden was such a powerful duchy, because, they could continue farming, past when all the other duchies could. Anyways,
I didn't know that.
It's nice to see them reference that again a bit, because they never really explained. They never went into it as in depth in the show as they did in the books. So that's part of the reason why it's such a hard time at the beginning of the series, is because autumn is ending and winter is on its way, and they don't know if it's going to be 1 year, a decade. If the Night King had succeeded forever, kind of shit. So.
I just
Have they mentioned this in the original series? Have they referred to this period?
They never really go into it, because I think that's one of the things, if I remember correctly, that it's either Ned talking to his children about, just referencing it going on, or it was something that Ned talked to Robert towards the beginning. It would have been in somewhere between episode 1 and 3, and they just had so much shit to cram in to get the story in that they didn't really go into depth in that.
It was very cool to see the wall. I just want to throw that out there.
See what it was like when it was fully manned too, instead of just a handful of people.
I want to admit something stupid right now, because I'm looking at my notes and I'm just realizing, because I wrote Jace gets an urgent message from Dragonstone, and I was like, what is it? And now I completely understand what it was and what it should have been, but I think at that moment I was just looking at Jace being so much older. I'm like, what the hell could this urgent message be? So yeah,
I am so glad that you didn't keep.
No, I want to own that. Totally going to own it. No shame.
Anyway.
See, Kevin, you can't feel that bad if I'm making these kind of mistakes.
Dear Jace, stop growing.
All right. Where the hell do we go from here?
Rhaenys returns and has the conversation with Daemon.
With Daemon, okay, yep. Daemon's like, fuck, I remember the gist, but I don't remember the specifics. But Daemon's basically like, you could have killed everybody with your dragon and stopped all of this, and my son's dead now because of it. And Rhaenys was like, first he was like, Rhaenyra should be here instead of out fucking zooming around looking for our son's body and her son's body. And she's like, when my daughter died and you brought her body back, I didn't believe it either, and it took me weeks before I came out of my room, so chill your shit, Daemon. And then he yells at her, and just a little bit of strife on that side, I think, is what they're trying to represent.
Then she just doesn't want to follow his orders because he's not in charge.
Yes.
Yeah. That was an okay scene. It's interesting how much... It seems like Rhaenys has just been, on patrol. I don't want to say nonstop, but it seems like she's been on patrol a lot.
Oh, yeah. That was literally what started it. She was coming in to take a break, and he's like, no, we're going to go hunt down Aemon's giant-ass dragon. And she's like, dude, I haven't slept in, fucking 14 days. Give me a fucking break.
I think it's dangerous to drive a dragon that tired. Just...
they can pull you over DUI for fatigue just as easily as they can for, and there's no blood alcohol test to prove that you're not fatigued. So,
so is that Matt Smith?
Yes,
Daemon.
Daemon is Matt Smith. Yep.
Okay. All right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I was like, I forgot how similar so many of the names were. I was like, Rhaenys, Rhaena, Rhaenyra, Daemon, Aemon.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Daemon and Aemon.
That's why I'm just happy we have Jacaerys. I'm like, wow, finally somebody whose name is not like anybody else.
Then there is another J Harris or something. Now we get later. Aegon's
Who was that?
son. That's at the small council meeting later. His name's like Jay Harris or something like
Well,
that.
we had him.
Too soon.
Are we referring to the end already? Because that's what is that it? Okay.
All right. Our next scene I can sum up in 4 words. Rhaenyra is still looking. Nope.
Looking
just
good?
looking. That's all. That was like 30 seconds. Just Rhaenyra looking around.
Oh,
But no, she was looking for Luke. Trying to. There was like 2 or 3 different scenes of her on the dragon, like trying to find him.
Yeah, on the dragon flying around, and she finally finds him at the ones at the beach, the fisherman.
Next, we got Corlys and Alan of Hull, a new guy.
I really like the dude who's playing Alan. I don't know if you guys watched Raised by Wolves at all.
No.
He was one of the 2 androids, and he's really good. And incidentally enough, apparently, I guess his dad died within the last couple of years. He worked with a video game company, and they made a Metroidvania that is like his experience of going through mourning his dad, which I heard was really good, which I find just awesome. Like, wow, what a way to like memorialize your father. You make a video game.
Do you know what it was
him.
called?
I'm sure I can.
He did a voice in Diablo 4,
but yeah,
apparently.
Yeah, I just really like him as an actor. So,
yeah, I like the scene. I have no doubt that Alan's going to die this season because I like him too much.
Yeah, and he's like I this is the one book I haven't read, right? I know a little bit about it because it's hard not to when you're doing research for House of the Dragon. So much was put up over what they've changed and whatnot, right? But supposedly he's a very important character. I don't know what his reference is in outside of the fact that he was the one who saved Corlys when he fell overboard.
If he's important, I'm just going to gamble on something without knowing anything. It seems like the other faction in King's Landing is looking for some people to run the seas for them, and maybe he becomes a turncoat. That's my prediction.
I mean, sure.
And I'll be wrong, but
no, not necessarily. You were about 50-50, I think, on your guesses. Some of them have been very good. Some of them, I don't know where they came from.
All right.
Well, I think it sounds plausible. Anyways, that sounds very Game of Thrones-ish.
So, the main thing story-wise that we get out of that is that this new character, Alan, saved Corlys when he fell overboard, and that at this point they finally managed to get their blockade going of King's Landing. Even though it's spread thin, they've been able to stop anything.
Also, in my notes, I have Alan is the one who dragged Alan out of the sea and saved Corlys' life. Yeah. I did great with my notes. What did Alan give him that was for Luke? Was that a sword or something else?
I think it was like a little. I don't think it was a sword. I think it was a dagger, maybe. Something that had a crest on it.
Sword.
It looked kind of short.
Maybe, yeah.
For Lucerys.
Yeah, I don't. It looked kind of short, so I was like, if it was a sword, it would have been kind of a short sword. So a dagger would make a lot of sense.
I don't remember what he had on him when he died either. So pretty much my main remembrance of that scene is just getting hit and getting crunched.
Yeah. All right.
So is this when we go to the scene with Eric?
This is Eric.
Eric,
I think. Yeah, we just call him Eric and Eric. Yep, that's how I differentiate. He's the one.
Which one was
he's
Eric?
the bad brother. He's the one that's
green?
hanging out in King's Landing with a green cloak.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. And this is
the dragon.
Shit.
The dragon approaches, and
council?
Then blah blah blah. Then Aegon's looking for Jaehaerys for the small council. Helena's afraid of the rats.
Yeah. So it was
which is kind of and
foreshadowing.
Yeah. After we don't get to the after that, Alicent has Crispin's face betwixt her thighs. That was in my notes. They can't do it again per her, which he doesn't believe her, neither do I. Then we have the exterminator guy capturing rats. Like, there's just like a bunch of small scenes, and then we get the small council.
Yes, and we get to see the difference between Aegon and King's Prior. He actually, compared to some of the ones that we've had, he's not a bad king.
Honestly, he seems like he kind of has some of his shit together, and I don't know, like, some of his decisions weren't like, definitely weren't nothing like Joffrey, of course. I don't know, like, he doesn't seem like a horrible king in a lot of ways, but he's going to get manipulated into being, you know.
He's probably like his father was, you know, like a good king for not a period of wartime.
Yeah. So his mother, I have a question, and maybe you have an answer, Chris. So what was it presented in the show? What is
Alicent?
What's her name? The mom, the queen. Alicent. Yes. Okay. So what is her label? What is her position on the council? Because she's not queen mother, right? Because Aegon is of age.
Oh, she's still the queen mother. I mean, she's not the queen. She's the queen mother.
Yes. Yeah.
She technically doesn't have a position on the High Council. Especially
guilting her son into doing what she wants.
Exactly. Yeah. Especially because, you know, at that point still, I don't think they'd really had any queens, you know, in charge. So they were still, you know, semi-misogynistic, if not completely misogynistic in that regard.
Oh, I mean, this is this is even before. This is 100 years.
200 years, yeah.
200 years. Yeah. Oh, I mean, and that whole show was.
Yeah, still about breaking the glass ceiling.
That's a nice way to put it. Oh.
But yeah, so yeah, she's probably there at this point just because he was young, you know, and she was guiding him at the beginning, and now she's just continued to stay there, and you know, you can.
Isn't it very similar to Joffrey, Cersei, and Tywin?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In a lot of ways.
I mean, the parallels are staggering.
But Joffrey wasn't of age, really.
Yeah, he was not.
So Cersei had more.
He was a douche, anyways. I mean,
yeah. Well, I mean, it's like presidents. Is there any that aren't douches?
Bill Clinton played a saxophone really well.
Yeah.
That's what I have for you.
And yeah. Oh, well, he never made president. John Kerry snowboarded. I don't know. I might prefer Aegon to those guys.
I mean, Al Gore invented the internet.
Yeah. Damn right.
We wouldn't be here without him today.
And Man Bear Pig. So, is Floris Baratheon that... Was she one of the girls that was there when Aemond and Luke came there at the final episode last season? Was she one of the girls that...
I don't remember if she was out there. I mean, I do remember them talking about her because her dad was trying to be like, hey, you know, I'll throw my support if you marry my daughter. And Luke was like, I can't. I'm already engaged to marry my sister, so or cousin or whatever. So, you know, there you have it. He's like,
Yeah.
White people problems.
yeah, probably less problems if he had the white hair like everybody else did. I'm just saying.
Oh, that's a strong implication right
Yeah,
there.
for sure. Yeah. So when we leave the small council, we get what's his name? The Strong's brother. Loras, yeah.
Wait, I just want to throw this out there. Tywin Lannister, when the boy is playing like with that marble
dude,
or
yeah.
whatever, was hilarious.
Yeah.
That was the funniest part of the whole thing for me.
I don't know. Have you guys been watching The Boys at all?
No, but I've been strongly urged to start it.
Same.
I've heard it's very, very violent. Is that true, Chris?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
Would I enjoy it?
You guys would both enjoy it, but there was a scene in The Boys because the first episode the first 3 came out the same week that the first episode for this came out, and I watched them like back to back days. And there's a scene in the first episode of season 4 in The Boys where one of the guys tells 2 other people to do something, and then I watched this episode next, and you've got Aegon being like, "Oh, Lannister, my son wants a pony ride."
Oh, that is the best. Yeah, and I was and honestly, that reminded me of something from Succession. There's this scene, a boar on the floor. It's just a very uncomfortable scene. I know you guys haven't seen it, but there was another HBO show that it reminded me of.
Yeah. I mean, my wife watched Succession without me. Again, another show that she did that too. So I did enjoy that portion of this. It was one of those things that, yes, made you feel uncomfortable. Showing that, Aegon is not all just benevolence and drugs and trying to figure out what his nickname's going to be.
It was one of those. It was like a pure Game of Thrones scene that you need a scene like that. Usually once per episode, or at least every other episode, you need something kind of fun like that turns awkward. But yes, I interrupted because it was actually one of my favorite scenes. Right after that was the Loras scene.
Yeah, so we get Loras, manipulating his way into like being in control of fucking everything, which is scary as all hell.
Yeah, he's doing work. I don't know if you know the answer to this, Chris, but I'll at least ask Kevin. Do you think he's going to succeed where Littlefinger failed?
That is a really good question. No, I mean, we'll see how far he goes, but I mean, no way.
I feel he's just going to push Alicent like too far one day, and it's just going to end up really bad. Like Crispin's just going to behead him or something.
Yeah, why isn't he going down on Alicent? That's my question.
He just likes feet, so he goes way down.
Feet.
Real south.
Oh.
Let's never forget the feet scene.
How could we?
He ate defeat that day.
And I don't remember if this is the next scene, but I'm gonna have to eat some crow for this because we get a return of a character that I thought we weren't going to see again. That Kent was big on.
Oh, you jumped the.
Did I jump?
You jumped it. Yeah. So basically, to catch up to where Chris is at, we had Alicent taking a bath, and believe it or not, she didn't want 4 other people in the room while she took a bath. Which who can blame her?
Well, to go along with that, though, that's right after Larry's told her that he managed to replace all of her servants with people that he had chosen.
Correct. So I mean, they're all just taking video on their iPhone for him. So that's a thing. After that, Rhaenyra spotted the boats, and that's where she found Luke. I don't really know if there's much to talk about there. And then we get the Aegon the Magnanimous, and where he's listening to the people, the dude with the sheep and all that stuff, which I thought was a really good scene. So we have a lot of stuff before we get to White Worm.
That was a really good, and it also proves again, kind of like I don't know how to say it, but it kind of makes up for the scene before where he's gonna have the pony ride scene. You're like, oh, this guy actually kind of like
Yeah, it was a nice juxtaposition.
and like really making decisions on his own, and yeah, and I thought it was a good decision too. I mean, not the sheep, I get that, but the
When he made
steel.
when he made the one decision and Otto's like right there, he wants to intervene, and he's just like fuck it and turns around.
Yeah, that was great.
After that, we're almost there, Chris.
I want to say that there's been a lot of things that I've seen Rise Ifans, however you pronounce it, and most of the time I'm just kind of agnostic on him, but I really like him as Otto. That's probably my favorite role I've seen him do.
Agreed.
Going all the way back to, I don't remember if it was The Replacements was the first thing I saw him in or something earlier, but yeah, I think this is probably the best thing I've seen him in.
Yeah, I recognize his name. I know who he is. What I know him from is there was a Peter Pan made-for-TV movie back in the day. Well, not way back in the day, like 2010-ish area, and he was Captain Hook. It was pretty good. And then I see him all the time, and I can't think of another thing he's done besides this.
Little Nicky.
Was he any good as Dr. Connors, the Lizard, and the Amazing Spider-Man? Because I never saw those two Spider-Man movies.
Oh yeah, he was decent in that. I mean, part of the problem is, once he turns into the Lizard, it's all CG.
Sure.
So
Okay.
you got him doing the voice, but not so much in it.
Makes sense.
The first one
Yeah.
with Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played Rasputin in the King's Man. The one that was about like the start of the King's Men.
Oh, I
That
want
just
to
came-
check those
Oh.
out.
I
I
didn't
hear
know
those
that.
are pretty good.
Oh my,
action
yeah.
films.
Oh my, I'm hearing so many things that I feel like you need to watch right now.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Good thing Elden Ring's DLC's out, so I have no fucking life, but yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. So
Until Sunday.
just to interrupt with that. There we go.
So we have I think possibly one of the most important scenes that's going to have long-lasting implications is right after that, Laris is like, Aegon, can we talk for a second? And he's like, Otto was Viserys' hand, and he was also, what was it, Jaehaerys or Jaehaerys? Whoever came before. Like,
Yeah. Whoever. Yeah.
he's making the move to try to be the hand, and I obviously think that will come into play. That's going to have implications this whole season, I would think. Then we had Otto visiting Al, and they go blah blah blah. They have the same goal: make Rhaenyra bend to the knee. She's sick of being undermined, and they know path is violence. And then we get on the ship with Eric.
Eric.
Not to be confused with Eric.
Eric.
That's right.
And we get him going down into the hole. I didn't even realize it was him at first, just because you see a dude in armor with a fucking helmet on. And he goes down, and who is in the hold, Kent?
Miss Saria, the white worm, the girl that I kept saying she's going to be big and important in this show.
God damn it.
And Chris denied it.
So, yes, I have to eat some pie. Humble pie.
I mean, after all the
probably-
fuck-ups I've made in my notes, I feel we're kind of even at this point.
The pie is probably made out of blood and cheese at this point.
Oh, that sounds terrible? Yeah, terrible.
Yes. So, do we go right from there to the dungeon after that? Or is there...
All right, so Daemon wants
segue.
her held prisoner. Eric stands up for her. Rhaenyra returns. Everybody updates her, and she's just like, fuck it, I want Aemon dead. And then Daemon returns to Mysaria.
Oh, I liked the scene with Eric and Daemon.
Oh, yeah.
Daemon's like, if you guys had fucking done your shit, you could fucking... Aegon wouldn't have been king, we wouldn't have had to be dealing with this. And he's like, listen, dude, we pledged to serve all of the royal family, to protect all of them, and then you guys fucked it up and went to war with each other. Paraphrase.
Yeah, no, he made a really good point.
True.
So yeah, I liked that. Even though, he feels like a traitor, he still has principles as compared to his brother, Eric.
Do you think that they're going to try to make Eric and Eric like Hound and Mountain level of important? Because
no, I don't think so.
They just don't have that much personality.
They don't have the size either. I mean,
or the cool hair.
Yeah, the Hound was a big dude in the first place, and fucking the Mountain. I mean, yeah, Jesus Christ. Yeah, I mean, we were seeing a couple of, like, I don't think they're going to be, jobbers for the parlance of you guys, but I don't think they're going to be, main event type wrestlers either.
So they could be jabronis.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably where they fit in.
If only the Iron Sheik was around to make him humble.
Well, we're going to like him, they're going to kill him. So many people die in this show.
Yeah, as soon as you start liking a character, just imagine that they're dead by the end of the season.
Yeah, pretty much.
The more evil they get, the longer they're going to go. They'll get it, but...
Yeah, and the worse they'll get it, but it'll be how many people they take with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just kind of looking ahead. We just had like a lot of like we have the scene with Jace and Rhaenyra, and they just talk and cry.
Yeah, there's a lot of good acting. Like, Rhaenyra doesn't have really too much to do, but between the scene where she finds Luceri's body and then the scene where she and Jace,
right,
get back, like commiserate with each other over their son/brother dying. Good performances. And have we had the scene with where Aemon is in with them and they're like, "What are you doing here?" And he's like, "Oh, was that part of the small council, or was that?"
We have
okay.
So we have two scenes before that. We have Al visiting the Septum, and that's where we potentially realize that her mom's name was Ellery Florence.
Yep. So that's another good scene. That's relatively
And
quiet.
then after that, we had the scene where Daemon comes on boat, gives Commander Blood the money, and then all that conversation. And he was very specific: kill Aemond. He did not say to kill his son. He said specifically to kill Aemond. I just want to make that clear, that they were crystal clear.
But then they bounce back far enough that you can see he's still talking to them, but you can't see what he's actually saying.
Right.
And I don't read lips well enough to figure that out.
Correct. And
I'd like to circle back for just a second. Alicent names 3 names when she's lighting the tapers. Her mom, apparently. I'm assuming that's her mom. I mean, we all discussed this in our little chat in between, and I'm assuming it's her mom. If I'm wrong,
it makes sense.
I don't know
Her name's Allery, Alicent. Yeah. Like, it just makes sense.
And then her ex, well, because he's dead. And then she starts to light a third one. I'm like, I wonder who the fuck she's going. And then she lights it and says, Lucerys. And I was like, oh, she's not all bad. She's just starting a civil war.
With her character, I swear it's like every other scene they kind of teeter-totter with her kind of leaning a little bit evil, and then the next scene a little bit good, and she really flip-flops.
Yeah, she's definitely not Cersei. That's for
no,
sure.
she's probably the most complicated character.
But she will bang your dad.
You think so? I mean, maybe that's how Larry's becomes the Hand, because Crispin fucking kills her dad after she bangs him. So
wait, will Larys be the hand or the foot?
Damn you.
We'll wait and see. The next episode begins. For a foot. Episode 2.
So now we have Aemon talking with our boy Crispin. So there you go, Chris.
Yeah, that was a good scene too. I mean, I don't. They're going over, commiserating about what it's going to take to win the war. You know, probably the only two who actually kind of militarily understand. And then Otto shows up and Crispin takes off. So apparently Aemon's fine with his buddy banging his mom. I'm just guessing. I even though he's only got one eye, I'm assuming he can see that shit going on.
Wait a second. I just want to add to what you just said, because Otto throws in a line and he says, "Some of which you cannot see." Come on, that's hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, imagine if your granddad talked shit like that to you.
Aemon's going to fuck up so many people before this show is done with, and I'm all for it because I don't hate him at all. Like, he's grounded in a lot of ways. Like, he's a dick, but I don't know. I don't hate him.
Let's put it like this. Do you think he would have let Luke go if he had cut his eye out last season?
I think they would have parted ways.
I think he would have let him go too.
Yeah,
He probably would have fallen off his dragon because he was bleeding to death on the way back in that storm. But I mean,
I think Aemon. Yes, he did quote unquote steal a dragon, but really the girls really should have tried getting on the dragon before he took it, and I think that made him like a villain instantly, and it really shouldn't have made him a villain. But now he has an eye patch, so he's a clear-cut villain.
Yeah.
oh yeah, he's super villain.
I like him more than I like Daemon, the Matt Smith's character.
Aw. I mean, I think they're the two closest characters, or I think in a lot of ways
Look alike.
Yeah.
They're definitely related. I'm surprised they're not banging
yet.
Yeah, I know. It's only episode 1.
Yeah.
Season 2.
I'm also curious how many nicknames I can come up with for Crispin this season. So far, I've had Crispin, Krispy Kreme, and Crispix. I'm going to keep working on these.
No more Kristen.
I will not go Kristen. I can't. Maybe season 3. So
Gotcha. Okay, so where does that
leads us to the blood and cheese. That's
so basically the final
Yep.
long sequence of the episode.
Like 12 minutes long or something. This was a long episode too.
Yeah.
When that scene started, I was like, not a lot has happened, action-wise, or really, I don't know. Not a lot did happen, and I just could feel it turning into a thriller, like, immediately. I was like, well, this is where it's going to give up the goods.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that this was a pretty busy episode, but yeah, there was not a lot of action within this one.
There's a lot of catching up and me being really confused, and
Yeah.
my girlfriend pointed out, hey, son for a son was actually Aemond. Or no, Aegon. Wait, what's his name?
Yeah.
King?
Aegon?
Yeah, they're supposed to be killing the king, right?
No, they were supposed to kill Aemon.
Yeah.
Aemond. Okay.
Yeah. They were supposed to kill One-Eyed Willie.
Yeah. To go along with what Kevin said, like when I was talking to Eric, I was like, really? Oh, Eric. This episode was exactly what you expected up until the scene. Like, there was no surprises. It was just a natural continuation to get you ready for the rest of the season, in my opinion. Like, nothing of real interest happened. It just helped segue until we get to this.
Yeah, they recapped basically where everybody is. They added a few new characters who knows how much they'll come into impact on this or future seasons. And then we get this. So, Daemon meets up with one of his former soldiers from when he was, I believe it's from when he was the watch commander.
Correct.
And he gives him the money, and they meet up with the rat catcher. Cheese. And he says, hey, you know a way to get into the Red Keep through the tunnels underneath, right? And Cheese like, eventually, I mean, that portion took like, what, a minute or two to fucking drag out of him? But
yeah, they added some time there.
He's like, yes, I can take you in. So Daemon gives them a large bag of money and tells them to kill Aemond. And then, as we brought up earlier, they pan back and you can see that he's still talking to them, but you don't know what the context is, and they've kind of left it open for interpretation. So we follow Blood and Cheese as they make their way into the Red Keep, disguised as rat catchers. Cheese is like, I'm not a night shift guy, but I can get us in there. So we got to be careful, that they don't recognize us. And to make a long story short, they run into one maid while they're going through.
Oh, Chris, you overlooked something great.
Oh, which thing did I overlook?
A few quotes. Aegon the Dragon Cock. Yes, the untamable beast.
Oh.
And my brother is as loyal as a hound. Also,
Yes.
I want to know, how the fuck did that guy climb up the ladder while holding the rat catching stuff and bring the dog up? Like, I feel like that's an impossible task to climb a ladder with all that.
They're pros.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
that's your final qualification for rat catcher certifications 101.
Yeah.
So,
all right, go on.
so they look for the maid that they disappeared. They can't find her, and then they wander into the king's room where the queen, Helena, is with her children. I believe they only had 2 in this, correct?
Yes.
Rather, in the book, they had 3. And, like, if you've read anything about this episode since it came out, you'll be, like, everybody's just going on about how this is different from how it happened in the book. But anyways, long story short, she's in there with her 2 children. They tell her to choose because they need to kill the... Well, they tell her which one's the prince, because they both look similar. And she points one, and then she's just like, no, she's not going to give up the heir. So they go and they cut the other one's head off, not paying attention.
Not really. Ratcatcher pointed out that she was probably telling the truth. Yeah.
Okay. Either way, they cut off the son's head. She grabs the daughter, runs away without making any noise or screaming or anything, into her mom's room where Alicent is in the process of riding Crispin.
They missed something there, by the way. That camera should have just panned to the left slightly, and Lair should have been there jerking off. Just saying.
What you mean? You don't think that he should have been sitting at the foot of the bed?
There we go.
But
And she's like, "Oh, they killed him," they killed the boy. And Alicent looks horrified, and that's where it ends. So I mean, it was a really strong ending. Like, that description does not do it justice for how well it was filmed and the amount of ickiness like it makes you feel.
yeah, the pressure, and a lot of it was done off camera, but it really felt like good old Game of Thrones, where they're like, kill all the bastard sons.
They didn't show us, thankfully, child murder, but you hear, them sawing through the gristle and the cartilage in the neck as they're trying to cut the head off.
Yeah, it was still uncomfortable.
Then the guy booted the dog. So, some people are going to be upset about that. I'm just saying, some people...
There are people who will be more upset about that than the fact that a little kid got
murdered. And to those people, you guys are fucking crazy. There. You're fucking nuts.
Yeah, I love dogs too, but I mean, I love children more.
Yeah.
And not in a creepy way.
You know what? I'm going to stay out of this.
probably safe.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was a really strong first episode. I don't know if it was as strong as season one's, because I was ready to not be a fan, and season one, episode one, dragged me back in. And yeah, this one I really enjoyed as well too. So I'm interested to see where we go. You know, the couple characters that I don't know. I'm interested to see what they're going to be doing. So yeah, I don't know. What else do you want to? What else do you want to discuss?
I just want to say, because I did rewatch House of the Dragon the day before, day of, whatever, and so when we last did the podcast, we ranked the 10 episodes. And looking back now, almost 2 years later, I'm like, holy crap, my rankings would have completely changed. And I walked away saying how absolutely great the very first episode was, but it didn't seem as great when I was watching it live back then. But now, to have the context, that was such a really good, strong pilot, or very first episode. I was super impressed by that.
Yeah.
And yeah, this did what a season opener should do. It sets the table for, well, we know there's going to be all kinds of chaos now because of the result of the end, and we got some other side quests to kind of look forward to. Perfect. So I like that. I mean, it was strong.
They opened the world up a little bit more with go back to the wall and stuff. It really, I was like, we're never going to see this, and kind of accepted it in season one. We didn't really get a lot of that, did we?
No, they was pretty much King's Landing, yeah, and
it's all pretty focused. Yeah, it's all pretty focused and targeted to the story. So it was really, I really got the feeling of oh yeah, we're gonna, this is gonna be expanded. Maybe not on the level of Game of Thrones, but I feel like we're gonna get little bit here and there. And like you said, Chris, who knows how, if any of that's gonna tie in, or if that's just the only scene we'll get. But
I think we're going to see the Riverlands. I think they're going to give us a lot of little callbacks just for fans. I
mean, I think we're going to have to, because that seems to
wars
be
are going to happen.
Both sides are going to be campaigning.
That makes sense. So, aside from that, I had a question. Basically, every episode, we only have 8 episodes this season, so my idea was to ask a question about each season of Game of Thrones. Since there was 8 seasons, we got 8 episodes. Come on, do the math, people. So this week's question that I had previously asked, so I didn't surprise people, was quintessentially, if you could go back to season 1, what's one thing you would change, a character or a storyline, something of that magnitude that could alter it to make it better for you or as a whole. So hopefully you guys have some kind of an answer. Kevin, do you have anything?
Okay, so starting out, I'm just gonna say no. I do have something to add, but that show is so well written, and there are things, there's some characters I would wish lived longer, but I kind of see everything having to go the way it does. The one thing I wouldn't want to change this, but when I watched it the first time, especially in the second time, because I kind of forgot, is when the opening scene of season 1, episode 1, with the guys, and we get
in the woods,
White Walkers,
yeah,
and then the one guy who survives that, we the next scene we get is Ned Stark beheading him, and then we follow Ned Stark, and he's this honorable dude, and I get that what the show is telling us without actually telling us. And a major theme, and I won't get into all of that, but how honor can kind of basically fuck you in the long run, having morals and all of that. Even though it seemed really wrong to kill that dude who just survived all of that craziness and no one believed him, and then they like chop his head off and whatever. I guess as I was thinking about it, I was like, oh, that's foreshadowing to what happens to him.
Ned chopping off a head. Go on.
Yeah, so that was one thing, and it always really bothered me. And every time I watch it, and then I guess talking about it now, I kind of see how important it is, and the foreshadowing, and the writing is just so good, and it made me really nervous to even do this podcast because it's just so much, and it's so detailed, and it needs multiple watches for me to kind of get it, and then my girlfriend explaining it, and now I have this podcast for you guys to explain a lot of stuff. So thank you. Yeah, that's all I got. We'll move to Chris.
Yeah.
Okay, so because my things that I would change are going to cascade to future seasons. Like the one thing I want to bring up is, I know we've had a recent discussion about books versus movies and how what works in one might not necessarily translate into another, or books into TV shows, what have you. But I think there are some really interesting things in some of the later books that just completely got axed. And I've tried to do like mental gymnastics to see, like, is there any way that, like, if George R. R. Martin ever finishes the books, because I honestly don't think he's going to, like, is there any way that the ending that we got from the show could be anywhere near the ending that we get in the books? And I don't think there is, just because of how much stuff changed. Like, season 1 is absolutely the closest. It's, I would say, probably like 97% movie to book. Stuff left out because it's, 500-page book, 600-page book, or whatever. But a lot of what's in there is, word for word, page for page kind of thing. But so the one thing that is going to tie into something I will bring up in like season 4 and season 5 is, so do you remember Roderick and Jory Cassell? The one is the guy who goes with Ned
to investigate, right? For Aaron.
Yeah, he goes with him to King's Landing, and he's investigating, and he gets murdered, stabbed in the back when Jaime ambushes him. And his father is the one who stays back in charge of Winterfell after Catelyn leaves, and ends up getting murdered when Theon shows up.
Right.
Well, the younger one, his son's daughter, is Sansa's main lady in waiting, and she's with Sansa throughout the entire series up until a much later point, but they don't even have her as a character in this.
Oh.
So things that I will be bringing up further would be if her character was in season 1.
Fair enough. It's funny that you brought them up, Chris, because I did like a search for major characters that died in season 1, because I knew I was going to miss some stuff, and I was just frantically fast forwarding through stuff to mainly focus on one character in particular. But I look at this, it's hilarious to realize, if you think about any other show, they would not kill off Ned, Robert Baratheon, and Khal Drogo. Like, those are 3 like heads of like huge clans or whatever you want to call it, and they just killed 3 of them off. And then also we had Sansa's direwolf, their lady. We had Syrio Forel, which was going to be my complaint, but then I kind of shifted to this other guy, and the other guy is Viserys. Because I sit here now watching it, and I've long said that for me, not having read the book or anything, like I definitely saw Daenerys turning heel long before it was a cool thing online, and just rewatching stuff now. By episode 4, she's already getting talked into it by Jorah, and that dude never takes any shit because he's such a nice, honorable guy, but he's really the guy that gets in her head that she should be the fucking crazy-ass ruler. But Viserys was played so damn well. My biggest gripe is that he didn't get more screen time, because with the screen time that we got, his death was super satisfying, having not known where Daenerys' path was fully going to go. But now I want more of Viserys. Like, I want this to be a full-on fucking Lifetime made-for-TV movie. I just wish we'd had more of his character, because he was just such... God, I know everybody hates Joffrey the most, but pound for pound, I think Viserys is right there. Like, if Viserys had as much screen time as Joffrey, would he have been more hated? I don't know. So that would be my thing.
I think people would dislike him, but like just the fact that Joffrey had the ability to, flex as much as he did. Jaehaerys was fucking despicable, but he was really only despicable for the most part to Daenerys.
Yeah.
There's no scene where, like, he's shooting fucking horse with a crossbow, and...
No, he's just straight up manhandling his sister and being like, hey, listen, if it takes 4,000 soldiers and horses to fuck you so I get my place on the throne, then those horses and those men will fuck you. Like...
and then he's like, and afterwards I'll do it, because, you're the only one I can have a baby with.
Right, like...
Yeah.
Dude, that'd be a hot dog in the hallway after the horses, Just throwing that out there.
Maybe not. Maybe Viserys was packing some shit.
Well, I mean, Aegon and the Inner Dragon, we don't know.
And still one of the greatest deaths, though. I was thinking that, too. When you mentioned that, you're like, don't mention Viserys. And I was like, man, that's my favorite character, because he is so awful. And my girlfriend, watching it the first time, I'm laughing every time he says something just completely disgusting. And the thing about, fucking all these men and their horses, because I love wrestling bad guys, I love villains, and he was so good. And every time I watch it, he's in 5 of the first 7 episodes?
Something like that, yeah.
4 out of the 6, I'm not... and that death scene, though, is so good, so you can't... And it's awesome that his character does still, his presence actually goes throughout most of the show. Like, Daenerys will mention him a couple times, and the only good thing that her brother's ever done was save, take care of her up until he was pimping her out. But that guy,
one of the dragons is named after him.
Yeah, that's right. That's why she does it, because of that one thing he did, where he took care of her and kept her alive. And there's not been a good character like him. There's plenty of villains to go around, but Viserys level, Walter Frey, and I couldn't think of his name earlier. That dude also just completely disgusting, everything, and I love it. I cannot watch Walter Frey's first scene. Just fucking cracks me up with Catelyn Stark. Oh my god, it's one of the best. Walter Frey, he was a good substitute, but he didn't completely fill the void.
Ramsay's along the same line, where he wasn't as good, but he was right up there.
Yeah, and we only got such a little bit of Viserys, and I think that's a great performance. I forgot the guy's name. He's in a couple of things. I saw him in The Wife, the Glenn Close, Jonathan Pryce movie, a few years, probably 5-6 years back now. Glenn Close was nominated. He plays a young Jonathan Pryce, and he's really good in that too. But oh my god, yeah, brilliant performance.
Yeah,
brilliant, and the best death. Right? Is there a better death? than the golden crown? Or
No, the melted gold crown. No, I still say not only is it a great death, but I mean, if you want to dig deeper into the quote unquote symbolism, blah blah blah, and I'll even say this. This will be very unkent of me to say, but when I was reading the book, I actually found his character to be the most interesting up to the point that I had read, which isn't saying very much about me and my reading, but I really liked how he was written in the book, too. So, yeah. And I don't know, like, for Season 2, what question, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to ask, like, what would you change for each season. I'm going to try to find something different for each season. And hopefully, if you guys come up with a question, by all means, hopefully we can have some good questions for each episode.
Okay. Yeah, no problem.
That sounds good.
So, I mean, I guess we'll just hit the rest of our normal podcast stuff up, but, you guys seen anything new since the last podcast we did?
I'll go really quickly. So It's June, and so Criterion Channel has 11 Paul Schrader movies. I'm a big Paul Schrader fan. He wrote Taxi Driver, but he's directed American Gigolo and Affliction and First Reformed are really, really great movies, and his movies really kind of focus on like toxic masculinity. It's Pride Month, so happy Pride, everybody! But it's also men's mental health awareness. So for that, I decided I was going to watch all 22 Paul Schrader movies, and I'm on number 15. So I did The Walker last night by Woody Harrelson. If we weren't doing this podcast, and hey, maybe if we get off soon enough, maybe I will pop on Adam Resurrected with Jeff Goldblum and Willem Dafoe. So you can look Paul Schrader up. It's been a wild ride, and it's appropriate for men's mental health. So outside of that, tons of action movies, and we did a movie night. Me and my buddy Isaac, we did action films. I brought Commando over. He's never seen it. And he played for me Project Wolf Hunting. Have you guys seen that movie?
I have not, no.
2022.
No.
It is so good, so violent. It's a little bit of action, a little bit of horror, a little bit of sci-fi. It's Assault on Precinct 13 a little bit, but on a boat. It's super cool. I highly recommend that. If you can come across it, he bought it. I don't think it's on streaming, or at least like free to anyone streaming, but I feel like it's a movie that'll pop up on Tubi sometime. And then the next day I went over and he did Fatal Termination, which is a crazy Hong Kong movie that came out in 1990. Crazy action movie. And then I brought 13 Hours by Michael Bay, so we did like 4 action films just full of machine guns, and I mean, it well over 4,000 bullets were fired in this 24-hour span of us watching movies. So, yeah, that's
sweet.
That's it.
What about you, Ken? What do you got going on besides Elden Ring?
Tell us about the Mavs.
So, yeah, I mean, that for anybody that likes basketball, which probably isn't people listening to this, but I've been a fan for most of my life, and the Dallas Mavericks were like the number 5 seed in the West, and they beat the number 4, number 1, and number 2 seed to make it to the finals, and then they lost to the Celtics, who come from a horrible, horrible city called Boston that I hate. For the betterment of the podcast, if there was a Game 6 that was going to happen tonight, and that would have thrown everything into chaos, because in about an hour I'm supposed to lose some internet thanks to Spectrum doing stuff. But anyways, it was a good season for the Mavs. I'm absolutely curious where it goes from here next season. Probably not as good, but that's okay. Like, it's been 13 years, and I'm okay with that. Aside from that, I haven't been watching the weekly wrestling shows, but I did catch the Clash at the Castle pay-per-view from last weekend, and that was a really good show all around. Lots of good matches. But Monday night, they had the debut of the Wyatt Six, which is an homage to Bray Wyatt, who died last year, and it's his brother leading the group. And there's a lot of familiar faces, and it is a horror group. It's straight up horror, and it was a really good introduction to the group. I don't know, it's just good and creepy and stuff. It was my kind of thing for wrestling, and that was a lot of fun. I've been going back and just watching some old Tales from the Crypt, and as you guys know, I messaged you to be like, I'm watching a Tales from the Crypt directed by our favorite guy, Mick Garris. So that's been fun. And I found out today, actually, like, when I drink recently, like, I black out, and it's not from drinking a lot. Come to find out, it's one of my medications that's causing it. So that's good information, because I'm like, 3 glasses of wine and 2 shots over the course of 4 hours shouldn't make a fat ass like me black out. But yeah, that happened last Wednesday. I was in the middle of playing Dungeons and Dragons Tales of Mysteria, I want to say, and apparently I just left the game. Like, straight up just left the game. I was out of it. So that's fun. And although I haven't been watching any movies, I figure since you guys know that I had a bunch of Universal rewards, I did cash them in, and I want to tell you the names of the movies that I got for free. All right. A few of them you'll recognize. The Dead Don't Die. I've been wanting to see that, actually.
Pretty good.
B-movie. Let's see. Death Race Beyond Anarchy, which I think was a Roger Corman. Delirium. Doom Annihilation, which I think might just be like animated or CGI. Frank and Lola with Michael Shannon. Driven, which I actually liked. That was about the dude who made the DeLorean. Beverly Loughlin, which has Aubrey Plaza, Emil Hirsch, and Craig Robinson. In a Valley of Violence with fucking Special Agent Ethan Hawke and John Travolta. It's a Western. That sounds absolutely absurd to have those two guys in a Western, so I'm all for it.
Ty West?
I have no idea.
Someone good directs that. I haven't seen it yet, but I think it's Ty West directed it.
Okay. I got Incarnate, the unrated version. Dragonheart, the Sean Connery flick. I got that. That was on there. Safe Men, which has Sam Rockwell. Tales from the Hood 2. I didn't even like the movie, but I got it.
How many points did you have? They're like...
I had over 21,000, so I got 21
yeah,
movies.
because there's 1,000 points. I'm like, dude, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Go on.
Some Blumhouse movie called Sweetheart, which sounds like Jaws, but not as cool. Death Race 2050. Oh, that's the Roger Corman movie. Okay. Something called Emmanuel, which was produced by Steph Curry and Viola Davis. Some horror movie called Piercing. A movie called The Public, which just has a lot of people that I recognize.
Emilio Estevez?
Another...
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Emilio Estevez directed it. Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. Seven in Heaven, which is supposed to be kind of horror and fantasy adjacent. Don't Think Twice, and Zombilenium. And as Kevin just said it came in my head. Of course, yesterday being June 19th, it was, yours and my favorite holiday. It was the day that the people from, the Dixie's drive shop gas station, saved the fucking world from the machines in Maximum Overdrive. So, of course, I watched that.
Of course.
Yeah. Who made who? Who made you?
Yeah. Gene Poole.
I lost a lot of my train of thought on that word vomit that Ken just spewed into the air.
Chris, you want to watch at least 3 of those movies.
I probably do, but you went so fast that I don't even remember what you said other than Maximum Overdrive.
Well, if you just look on my Voodoo, you'll see them all.
I went to the movies for the first time in like a year and a half, 2 years maybe. I went and saw Furiosa in IMAX. I fucking loved it, which makes me really sad that it didn't do well enough to get the next movie in the series made.
Or even go 3 weeks, because I was going to go the third week it came out, and it did so bad that they took it out of, so it wasn't at the theater that I went to. I went and saw Bad Boys 4.
How was that? I mean, I heard good things about that, too.
Oh, it is ridiculous. It almost is straight camp. It really just kind of, you just got to go with it.
Kristen and I rewatched 2 a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, as much as I love this movie, this is so fucking over the top, but I love it.
It goes further with 4. I saw 3. I haven't rewatched it, but 4, it's like almost existential. They bring back a character that got killed in 3. I'm like, why? But it's really weird. I had such a good time with it, but there's a point into the movie where you're like, okay, this is ridiculous, and you're like, it's an action. It's the 4th installment of an action film, and it really feels like it. And I had a great time. And I brought my stepfather, and he's never seen any of them before, and then he started watching Bad Boys 3 the next day. So,
I mean, if I've made it to what are we going next? Fast 12 is going to be the next one. I mean, I feel like
Fast 10 Part 2.
I feel like I am willing to give any action series a shot at this point.
It's fun.
So I have a quick question. Yeah, with Furiosa, so did it get bad reviews, or did people just not go to see it because it was marketed pretty heavily?
From everything I saw, everybody who saw it fucking loved it. It's just nobody went and saw it. Like
what I heard,
if you look at like the IMDb and shit, it's up there. Metacritic's up there. Rotten Tomatoes is up there. It made like what, 11 million its opening weekend. You know, when it needed to make like 80 or something. Okay.
Yeah, it didn't do well, and in the theater, it was like the theaters itself weren't really doing well. It's not like some movie made a bunch of money. You know, it's just like for, yeah. So it did really well. The general reviews that I heard is that it's great. It's a great prequel. Not as good as Fury Road. Right? That's what's called Mad Max Fury.
Yeah.
And which still sounds really good. And I mean, there's no Max in it though, right?
Yeah. I mean, let's put it like this. Like,
and that's why they think people didn't go. Cause
I don't know what people were expecting, like performance-wise. Because, well, not performance, but like monetarily performance-wise. Because like Fury Road is the best performing one out of the entire franchise. And that made $450 million worldwide. So it wasn't like it's a $1 billion franchise. It's like I was talking to one of my buddies at work, and I'm like, I mean, I understand why it didn't do well, because it's Australian post-apocalyptic sci-fi prequel to a movie that came out 10 years ago when the original came out, what, at this point, 43 years ago? So, I mean, it's not like it's Star Wars or Star Trek or something, you know, where even if there's a period of time in between stuff, you know, it's still, you know, 10 years, or nowadays, you know, months. You know, it was like you had 3 movies come out in a 5-year period of time, and then 20 years between them, and then another 10 years on top of that. I mean, I can understand all of the things that led up to it not being successful in the theater. But yeah, it was a great movie. Not like Fury Road, action-wise, one of the best ones I've ever seen, and it's nonstop. This was way more world building and character building. Like, the action that was in it was awesome, but it was definitely a slower-paced movie than Fury Road was.
How was Chris Hemsworth? I was on the fence.
Chris Hemsworth was good. He was great. You know, like I've liked him in a lot of this. I like him as Thor. but I've liked him in a lot of the non-Marvel stuff I've seen too. Like, I love Extraction 1 and 2. I think those are two of the best action movies I've seen in the last 4 or 5 years. But yeah, he was great as Dementus. Moving on from that, the final season of Evil started up. You guys got to watch that. Like, Kent, you got my Paramount Plus. Just go on there when you have free time in between the video games and all the other movies and shows you have to watch, and catch that up, because like I need somebody to talk to about this, and my wife is the only person who watches it. So
it's Paramount Plus. I've heard
Yeah.
about it.
they have the
It's not
first
just from you.
the first 2 seasons I think are on Netflix. Season 3 might be 2. I'm not sure, but it's a great show, and
It's on Netflix?
not the final season, which is just airing now, but at least the first couple seasons are. So
Oh, okay. That's confusing.
well, it's like any of those things where like they the whatever channel streaming is running with, like Peacock does with stuff, but then they'll throw older seasons onto Netflix or Max or whatever.
Kind of like how The Walking Dead did it. They had
Yeah.
AMC Plus for the current season, but everything else was on the Netflix.
Exactly. And then besides that, just House of Dragon boys, and yeah, Kat and I have a video game to play as soon as this is over.
Can I just add one thing about the
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Mad Max Fury Road, or no, not Fury Road, Furioso, is, how much was that movie made for?
Probably,
100-something million?
yeah, probably somewhere between 1 and 2.
Okay, probably
don't-
not 200. I mean, we were saying the numbers on that. I'm just sick of movies like, making $400 million and people are like, it's a bomb. Like, stop making, and it says it's made for $200 million. I get that there's Hollywood math, but like, dude, stop complaining that a movie doesn't make $1 billion because you put $200 million in it. Like,
The other thing, Kevin, and this is what really pisses me off, is they'll be like, "Oh, opening weekend, it didn't do $100 million, so it's a bomb." I'm like, "Fuck!" Like, sure, it might not. If it doesn't do 100 million week 1, it's not going to do 100 million week 2, but it's still going to keep making money. It's not like it, Titanic or Avatar or Endgame, or
Maximum Overdrive.
Force Awakens. It's not like they made $1 billion in 4 or 5 days. It takes time to do it, but people are like, "Oh,
Top Gun Maverick."
Yeah,
it went from Memorial Day and it played all the way till September and it made $1 billion.
Like Furiosa. I want to say I think it opened on a Thursday night at midnight. By Saturday, they were saying the movie's a bomb. I'm like, how the fuck can you even compute that? Like, it hasn't even opened in worldwide yet.
Underperformed is like, you say underperformed, to expectation. But yeah, that's crazy. And they think that they have these stupid numbers now because, and it's not even July yet, but because of Barbie and Oppenheimer, they think that they can project all of these huge numbers because that movie, which has nothing to do with it. Mission Impossible 7, which was great and had like 97% Rotten Tomatoes, or 90-something%, which is just crazy for a Mission Impossible movie, underperformed. And
exactly.
They took it out. And Furiosa, it was the movie company that took it out, the distribution company that took it out of the theaters so they could put some other shit out there. And no disrespect to whatever they did. Maybe it was Bad Boys, but yeah, they put something else out there, and they took it from the theater. Like, it wasn't even the movie theater itself because people weren't going to go see it. I mean, if it was in the third week, I think because of the internet and people talking on the movie groups and the word of mouth of it was for who did see it, that it's good, go see it in the theater. And they fucked up. It dropped 900 theaters in its third week. Like, they play A24 movies for 3 weeks at least, and then they'll cut it. That's insane. So,
well, here's some numbers from IMDb. The budget was an estimated $168 million. Right now, gross worldwide, $161.4 million. So it's already almost made its money back. It's obviously going to go make its money back and more once it's distributed video on demand, Blu-ray, etc., etc. So, yeah, it's foolish.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, it's I worked the entire first weekend that it came out, so I mean, like, I saw it. I was unable to see it that first weekend where they said it's a failure and is about. I'm like, it doesn't make sense. Like they're pushing shit too quickly for metrics. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm really there's a lot of things in Hollywood that I'm just not happy with right now. But yeah, that's definitely one of them when it comes to new releases. Anyways, I think that's about it for me. Do you guys have anything else you want to bring up before we wrap this up?
And another thing about Hollywood, no, I'm good.
All right.
I'm good.
Okay, then I guess I don't know when you'll be hearing this, but you'll be hearing from us next week when we go over episode 2. So, Internet, take care.
Screw you, book readers.
I don't know what to say besides David Gordon Green.
That works, Kevin.
All right. Thanks for listening, guys.